this kid from Scottsdale's pretty good, isn't he? Matthews kid, what's his name? Yeah. He's pretty good, huh?
Yeah, it's not a bad player. It's funny, all these Canadian fans saying that hockey shouldn't be in the desert, yet the player that is saving the game north of the border just happens to be from here.
It's good stuff. Well, he may be saving the game, but then there's a former Coyote center who is no longer with the team because he rather put blow up his nose.
Yeah, you know what? Adam Ružička played 3 games with the team. They acquired him a few weeks ago. I honestly don't get it. Like, where is the stupidity of a human being to put that kind of stuff out on social media and think nothing's going to happen? So it breaks this morning. Within a few hours, he's gone, clears waivers, and they're terminating his contract tomorrow when he clears. Just dumb move. The truth for the organization, he's been there for 3 weeks. He played 3 games. They'll move on without missing a beat. He hadn't settled into the locker room. He didn't have a spot in the ice yet. He was a guy in and out of the lineup. He won't miss him. It's just another unfortunate black mark on this franchise.
Yeah, what else is there? Is there something else lurking around the corner, Steve? Rock and I talked about that earlier. It's like another black eye and another scenario that this Yotes franchise has got to overcome.
It's just constant. It's the fan base has had to go through this, the staff, the players. It literally seems like it's always something. And right now, the only thing left on the table right now, the biggest thing, the only thing, it's the arena. Like they have, we're in the final strokes of this one. It has to get done, or they're in huge trouble. And we'll know by the middle of June. Like, this is it. This is their last kick at the can. Morello gets this done, or I don't believe he will be an owner by the end of June.
The Toronto Star had a pretty big piece on this deal 2 days ago, of course, with Toronto being in town and all, and basically had a lot of quotes from players that are now talking that, this is affecting them because they're generating at least $60 million less than they could in a bigger arena. And when the players start talking, that normally means there's going to be some changes, right? Would you think that would be the case?
Yeah, it's interesting because it's really getting a big push from Marty Walsh, the lead of the Players Association, and he's really speaking out against Morello and the ownership group and the arena, and really he's the biggest voice being put forward. So yeah, you are hearing more from players. Ironically, though, when you talk to players one-on-one and in person, at least the Coyote players that I've talked to, honestly, I haven't heard the issues that I saw printed in that article. And I have talked to road players that used to play here, and they honestly, they come in once a year. They stay in downtown Mill Avenue, 5 minutes from Old Town, 5 minutes from the airport, instead of 45 minutes to Glendale, staying in Westgate. I haven't heard one visiting player complain because they love the setup.
Well,
now, playing in front of 5,000 fans, it comes into escrow, it comes into money, and it comes into their share of the escrow. I get that part. And that's a different side. But playing in the building, I haven't heard those complaints.
Well, one of the quotes was from the Oilers, Zach Hyman. I think it's Hyman. Is that?
Yep. Yeah, Hyman.
He had said, hey, it's fine to play once or twice, but to play a 41-game season here is not ideal. So,
but he's not wrong.
Yeah,
he's not wrong. And we've said this. We broadcast this since the beginning. It's not an ideal situation. The alternative in Arizona is they leave. There is no other place that can house them or will take them in the short term. So I don't know. I know people think they can go back to Glendale. They can't. And, they can't play where the Suns play. That's just, it's not feasible to play at Footprint Center. And they talked about, the fairgrounds. Again, not reasonable financially to do that. This is the only answer, not a great answer, not the best answer. It's the only answer for right now. That's why they need this building. And then once they get the approval and they buy the land in June, they got to put shovels in the ground immediately, and they got to put that building up as quickly as they can. Like, you've got to do that in 2 years, and that's going to be a hard challenge for this team.
And see, that was my question. I mean, it's got to be ASAP because there's 3 years left in the lease. Like you said yesterday, Rock, there's 3 years left on that lease. It's going to take them every bit of 3 years to design, put the shovel in the ground, if they're going to do any kind of a retail or somewhat of a footprint they want to do in Tempe. But that has got to be happen as soon as he cuts a check. If he's the winning bid, number one, Steve, if he's the winning bid, which I imagine he will be, but if he's the winning bid, if he's not, this bad boy goes into another auction format. But they got to get on the big foot, as I like to say.
Yeah, it's got to be like, it's funny when they built the Glendale Arena, that went up in 18 to 24 months, one of the fastest buildings of its size in its day. They have to do that again. Like I can't imagine going into that third season from now. I could see next year and the year after maybe, but that's it. I don't see how they can continue to play there. It is a big deal. They have to win this auction and they have to get shovels in the ground immediately. And Mr. Morello, the ball's in his court. He has to pull out his checkbook. And he has to win that auction. And I know publicly they're saying, oh, we're going to win the auction. You don't know. You don't know who the other bidders are yet. You don't know who may compete for that land. That's valuable land in an unbelievable location on the Phoenix-Scottsdale border. There may be a secret bidder coming in. I think they're being a little presumptive, saying, yeah, we're absolutely going to win this auction. So we'll see. There's a lot of story to be played out yet. Good news for us is it's going to be played out by the middle of June. We won't have to wait past that. The league is going to let them wait until June, but by the middle of June, if they don't own that land, things are going to change in a hurry.
Steve Peters with us here on Fox Sports 910. I saw a story, the fact that the team is playing the Winnipeg Jets tomorrow. I had no idea. I haven't really paid attention to it, but Winnipeg, I remember, was one of the hottest tickets in the NHL. When they got hockey back there, it's 300 plus sellouts. Now I'm seeing that they are the second worst in attendance to the Yotes, in that they're only getting like 9,500 season tickets when they were about 13,000 before. Why isn't anybody talking about Winnipeg and the issues they're having?
Yeah, it is funny because that's a franchise. When they moved back, they had to guarantee the first 3 years of complete sellout of their season ticket base, which they did easily. And like everything, like your kids at Christmas, those toys aren't as shiny as they were on December 25th by the time you get to summer. And that's what's happening in Winnipeg. It's a different economy in Winnipeg. It's the Canadian dollar, which is much more difficult to maintain a team there. Taxes are much higher in Canada than they are for these teams and owners and franchises. It's difficult, and you're starting to see that now in a city that isn't big enough maybe to sustain this long term, and they're talking about relocating again. Jeez. I don't think that's going to happen. First of all, the team they're going to make the playoffs. They're going to be a team that I think surprises some people. So the hockey is good, but you're right. Why aren't people screaming about relocating the Winnipeg Jets and moving them to Salt Lake City or Houston? I think it's coming. But you're right. This is why when people talk about relocating the Coyotes are not moving to Quebec City for the exact same reasons. Quebec City cannot sustain it economically. They are not moving to a small Canadian market because that's what you're going to see happening, just what's happening in Winnipeg.
All right, ice-wise, as Rock alluded to, Yotes taking on Winnipeg on Sunday. 11 in a row of the loss. They've lost 17 in the last 21 games. They're only averaging, 2.2 goals per game, giving up 4.5, whatever that number is. So they start quick some days, they finish slow other days. I mean, where does this team got to go for fans to even remain interested for these last 4 or 5 weeks?
The only way to stay interested right now on this team is watching where they're going to pick in the draft, because they're not going to win many games down the stretch. It's at 11 now, but I hate to say it, fans that are listening, it's going to be 12. Winnipeg they don't play well in that building. Winnipeg's fighting for a playoff spot. Arizona has nothing to play for. The rumors are killing them. The new player and the troubles off the ice today, that's not going to do them any favors. They're in a dark cloud right now, and I don't know how they get out of it. And more importantly, I don't think they need to get out of it. Last year, they finished 6th to last. Right now, they're 5th to last. 4th to last is in sight. This team could pick top 3 in the draft and have a much better chance of getting first overall pick next year. The season's over. The playoffs are gone. It's over. Trade deadline's a few weeks away. This team, if they lose out, that's probably the best thing for the fan base right now. Get a big pick. It's terrible how fast this season fell apart, and it's really sad. But now you just have to look forward to the future and draft picks again.
Aren't you getting tired? I mean, I love you, buddy. You know that. But this is a broken record, man. I mean, you do this for a living. You got to talk about this every day. It is ridiculous. I mean, I haven't even walked my dog to stop and talk to you because I don't, I just feel bad.
Yeah, it's going to be insane.
So
it's the same story. It
is.
And they don't spend money. They don't spend money on players. You played the Toronto Maple Leafs the other day. Their payroll was $30 million short of the Toronto Maple Leafs payroll. That, that's 4 or 5 all-stars, like not just good players, like all-stars. It changes the face of your team. But the ownership can't spend because they don't have the revenue, because they don't have the building. It all follows. We've heard it for 25 years. And until I'm hopeful that the new arena brings in more revenue, which brings in more players and brings in a winning, the winning culture. I hope so. And I know Bill Armstrong has players and draft picks, and the development side looks positive and looks good, but they're just 17, 18, 19-year-old kids. That's a long way from being a regular first-line center in the National Hockey League. And you're right. Patience is worn thin. I'm tired of it. I'm frustrated with it. They have to turn it around, and it has to start this summer.
I just wish, I know we got to get you out of here, but if you go to their website, all they do is talk about how they do this stuff in the community, which I think is important. But launching these direct-to-consumer streaming platforms and this apparel and all this stuff that has nothing to do with the sport, other than they're trying to make money and they're treating it. It just seems like they don't have the right business model to run a hockey team, because they're all worried about winning Emmys and stuff like that for the production and for. I'm sorry, you're winning these awards because you're doing a good job to 4,500 people. I mean, it's ridiculous.
It's funny because when you root for a team with your heart and soul, and I know all of us that are listening to this and it's been part of this, you root for some team somewhere with your body and soul, and you really don't care about anything other than winning.
Yes,
you just don't.
Thank you.
The other stuff, I think, is a byproduct of that. I think if you do things right and you attempt to win, all of those other things fall in place afterwards. And I look at Vegas Golden Knights as a model. Their owner came up and said, "We're going to win a Stanley Cup in 6 years," and everybody laughed at him. No, you're not. Well, they did.
Yeah.
Because he put the resources into the team. He put the resources into the product. He made that the franchise it is because he spent a lot of money doing it. And I think an owner, all those things are
break, obviously.
Ownership taking a part in the community. You do. But you want to see the team be successful first, and all of the rest of that will happen after.
Yeah.
And I just hope the focus changes to sports. I hope the focus changes to hockey, and I hope the focus changes to winning once they get a building.
They definitely got the diversity thing down.
No, they sure do.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Have a good weekend.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
That's Steve Peters joining us. Hey, the Tooth Fairy is being hit with declining wages. Yeah, break's coming next.